Okay, so let's have a look at how we can edit some of our musician websites. And for instance, this one here, I'm using Chelsea Cullen as an example, who's a talented young singer-songwriter from Perth, WA. So she gets to be featured in this little video. So what we're going to do is I just want to show you how you can do the basic functionality. We've got specific muso themes that we use. So in this particular example, I just want to show you how we use this particular theme and how we can edit it. So what you'll see at the top is you've got a logo. We've got the top menu, and I'll show you how you can change that. We've got our primary menu. Some people will have their primary menu below the slider. Some people will have it at the top. Either way, changing them is exactly the same. We then have a featured slider, and in this featured slider, we've got 3 posts. I'll show you how you can upload new images into that featured slider and change the description over down the bottom left-hand side. This section here is called the intro, and I'll show you how you can change the intro. We've then got a page content, which basically provides an overview, which allows you guys to change whatever you like on that page. So, you can go into more detail about who you are and what you're up to. The other alternative is you can just show a series of posts, so it look like a news feed. So you can just have the news feed coming through if you would prefer to do it that way. And I'll show you how you can flip between the two. And then we've got your music over on the right hand side, and you can see your widgets. So we've installed, for most musicians, would have fairly standard. We have a SoundCloud music player. We'd have your upcoming gigs, which we use a plugin called GigPress, and there's a separate video to show you how to use that. We often use MailChimp. Actually, 99.9% of the time we'd use MailChimp. So we've got your email updates would come through there, and you put your email in, and we'll show you how you can change that. And recent posts at the very bottom. You've got more widgets. So that would be your footer 1, footer 2, footer 3, and we can show you how you change those. You probably won't need to, because for most of you, you'll have Facebook, Twitter, and Contact as your main features down the bottom. So then what we need to do is let's log into the dashboard, and we would have already shown you, and you would have an email from us. I won't show you, in the interest of security, how to log in, but you would know through the email that we've sent to you. So let's have a look at the dashboard. When you arrive at the dashboard, it probably looks a little bit like this. There'll be some drop downs. We pretty much don't use any of this dashboard, except for maybe looking at comments. You still will have to unapprove certain comments that come through. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about people selling pills from Kenya and India and all sorts of other places. Don't recommend you buy them, not that I have. Anyway, it's a separate conversation for another time. Let's go into the dashboard. There's another video that gives you the basic overview, so I'll just give you another one to familiarize yourself here. We've got posts, and that's where you would be putting content that constantly changes. So your news, your gallery, your videos, that's where you put in your post content. So it works kind of like a news feed. As you post a new one, it publishes in date order. Then you've got media. You pretty much don't need to use media. That's where you store most of your pictures and things like that. You usually edit your pictures and those sort of things in posts, so I rarely go to the media. You won't use links. Pages, obviously, is where you have your bio. That feature article on the home page, that's a page, and we can show you how you can edit that. That'll contact us also is a page. Comments, obviously, you can go in there to approve and disapprove. You've got GigPress, and GigPress is where you would be adding your gigs. Separate video, which we've got on the support site. Portfolio is just another way of displaying your gallery. My personal preference is to use Picasa to publish your photos. It's just really, really simple to pull your pictures in from Picasa. It's really, really slick, and it keeps everything really organized. So my recommendation, in the same way that you use SoundCloud for music and you use YouTube for videos, I would use Picasa. Don't probably get bogged down doing your own custom galleries, because in 5 years' time, when everything's moved on, Picasa is probably still the industry benchmark, I would imagine. And that also syncs up, Picasa syncs up really well with Google+, which is another really great network. Features is just a little area where you can have kind of 1, 2, 3 features underneath your feature slider. And we tend not to use it for musicians. We use it more for business sites, but we can show you how to use that if that's of interest, but we'll just stick to the basics in this particular video. Slides is obviously where we're going to show you how you can change those slides so you can upload new images, which can quite easily change the look and feel of your site quite quickly. Then we've got the settings. So this particular theme that we're using is called Whitelight. and we'll go into the theme options. In these theme options, this is where you would change your intro messages. There's a few other little bits and pieces in there. I always tell people to err on a little bit of caution because we've gone to quite amount of detail to set this up, and we don't necessarily have a backup copy of these settings. So please, if you're changing any of these settings, just be very careful because it is live, and you could mess it up a little bit if you start changing things like style sheets up here. So I'll show you what you can and can't change in a second. Bear with me. Under appearance, you'll see themes and widgets and menus. Themes is again something that you don't want to touch because we've selected Whitelight and we've customized that theme just for your site. So things like backgrounds and fonts that have been used and those sort of things. So, so please don't switch that around. You've got widgets and menus. Obviously, we will show you how to change those. Plugins. Plugins are like apps that you add to your site. So, we've got a list of plugins that we recommend for you. We don't necessarily recommend that you go and start adding a whole host of your own plugins for security reasons, and also, and some of them just don't work very well and can really mess up the functionality of your site. So, if you really want something added to your site, we recommend that you come back to us and we'll add that plugin if we have vetted it and we think it will support the network. Then you've got, and most of the plugins you won't need to go in there because the plugin settings you'll find underneath here. For instance, Social Share and Picasa are an example of plugins that we've already installed for you. Users, you can add users to your site if you like, and they have various attributes. They could be an editor, they could be a administrator, they could be a subscriber, which means they have differing views. They can't log into your dashboard. They may not be able to publish content. You can add that functionality if you like, if you have someone who needs to write for you, or obviously you can give them your login and they can log in for you. But obviously don't make it too widespread. You don't want to be publishing your login onto Facebook or Twitter. I know that sounds pretty stupid, but don't do that because obviously people like to get into WordPress sites and hack them. Tools is, you pretty much won't need to use that, so please don't play around with that. Obviously don't hit delete site, because that site will self-destruct and would be back to square one, so stay away from that. We do have all the sites backed up, so if there's anything major, we have the database and all the theme files backed up to both Texas and Singapore. So if for some reason your little brother got in and hit that delete site button, then, after a lot of painstaking effort, we could probably get it back to the way it was. But stay away. Keep your little brother away from it, or your little sister, or your big sister for that matter. YouTube posts, this is a standard plugin that we use that pulls videos automatically from YouTube straight through to your website, so you don't have to update it. You can turn that on or off depending on whether you want all your videos to come through from YouTube or not. SEO is another plugin that we use. I'll have a separate video for showing you how to do that, but it's a really good habit to, as you post content, to change the structure of your search engine optimization. So that's like your header and your meta tags and your description and the post content, so that, for instance, for Chelsea, we'd be going, okay, singer-songwriter Perth is probably the keywords we want to focus on, so we can help to improve our search rankings. Deep breath. So I've given you a bit of an overview. As I said, let's just recap on a few things that I mentioned. The posts, we've got a separate video for how you update the posts, and for most part, that's your main part of where you're going to be doing a lot of the editing. Pages, again, most of that will already be set for you. And GigPress has a separate video as well for you to go in. So let's focus on the areas that we haven't got a separate video on, and that's with this particular theme. So we'll start at the very top, and they were the menus, and there is a separate video for menus, but I'll just go through very quickly how we can edit the menus, and that was under appearance and then menus, and that way you don't have to run off and watch all these different videos, as much as I'm sure you're really enjoying listening to me blab on. In this top left corner, you've got primary menu, which is the main one, and you've got top menu. And that's obviously, I've called it top to keep things really simple. And if you look at Chelsea's site, for example, this is the top menu, and that's the primary menu. So that's rocket science there. You've passed WordPress 101. Now on this right-hand side, we've got the main. You can see the tab and top. So you can see, we've put in, this is how the main menu works. And if I click the button on the tab, lo and behold, it swaps over to the top menu. There is a video that we've got that shows you how you can add new links in. I always recommend to people, hey, add the content first and then add it in here, because you'll see down the bottom left hand side, here's all your existing content. You can click view all, so that way you can easily just click the button and hit add to menu and it flips over. So obviously for this one, this is all linking out to external websites, so Facebook, Twitter, Unearth, YouTube. If you want to move any of it around, you just drag and drop it to change the order. So we're just going to move YouTube in. I'll just hit save, and that will rearrange it on the site as well. You want to add a new link, just paste your new link in here. Make sure it's got the HTTP and hit the menu item, and let's just say we put in, for whatever reason, we're going to link to Florence Road. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but look, I'm not necessarily saying that wouldn't be a bad thing, but I don't think you do want to put it on, but let's just put it in anyway for giggles. And we'll just go Florence Road, and I hit save, and I'll hit update, refresh, and you'll see Florence Road will pop in up there. So clearly Chelsea probably doesn't want to link to Florence Road, so I'm going to just click on the button, and you can see you can remove it. So that's fairly straightforward. As I said, there's a more detailed version of how you change the menu, so I won't go into too much detail on the menus. Let's get into the nitty-gritty on the slides, because that's the fun part, and that's what everybody usually asks as to how do I change these particular pictures. So these are called slides. And you go in, as you can see, on the keys, recording vocals, and in the studio. And that's the three that we have on the side at the moment. So if I just click on edit, I'll show you what it looks like, and that way you can always replicate it and do another one. You'll see that there's no content in this main box, and I've got the featured image over on the right hand side, so that's where we'd like you to upload it to. You can also upload it a little bit further down the page, or you used to be able to, but for this particular one we're not. We're just going to be putting them over on this right hand side, so forget what I just said. So we've got the featured video on there. You just put in your header, so you can change that around to whatever you like. You can make it longer if you want to make it longer. And you can put text in underneath as well in this section here. So it could be, this pic was blah, blah, blah of me doing X, Y, and Z. And then to put a featured image in, at the moment that image is in there. So if I hit remove featured image, which I will reluctantly, hoping I've still got that image somewhere, it'll say set featured image. Click on the button, and obviously you want to upload it from your desktop. So you just go select file and pick, the upload and go through the process. So I'm just going to grab one that we've already just had. WordPress is great, it remembers. And then once you've uploaded, the same thing will happen. It'll say insert into post or use as featured image, and make sure it's the full dimensions. So as you can see, the dimensions there are roughly 1200 pixels wide by 413. So they're the dimensions that you probably want to adhere to. Some of you might have dimensions on your feature sliders which are slightly different, in which case I recommend that you just download that image, and you can right click on the picture on the website. So you can just right click on that and go save image as, and then use your favorite photo editor to create a similar sized image if you're uploading a new one. Really important that you get the dimensions right. If you get the dimensions, if it's a really tall picture, it's not going to work. There's going to be a whole heap of black space in the background, and it's just going to look odd. So like gig posters aren't really recommended to go in there. I'd recommend you put them under the featured slider, or in which case create a kind of a banner that fits. Photoshop is probably one of the best programs. So you can get Photoshop Express, I think, or the light version for about $100, and I use Photoshop, the main version. I use it just about 20 times an hour. Like, it's fantastic. Anyway, we're just going to say use this featured image. So it took a long time because I blabbed on for too long, but you can see we just hit use this featured image, and then we'd hit update, and that's it. That's how basically you add your feature slider. So now what have we done? We've done the menus. You probably don't need to change your logo, but I'll show you where it is just in case you do need to change your logo. We just go into theme options. Most of the settings are under our Florence Road Whitelight settings. And you can see on the very start, quick start, we've got, and I'll go through everything while I'm in here. Quick start, we've got that particular style sheet, so please don't change that style sheet because that will muck up a lot of the code. And you can see your logo is in here. Obviously, we haven't published Chelsea's website yet. It's still in holding mode. So, that will change eventually, and the address would be chelseacullen.com, /files, wherever it's going to go. Same sort of thing, upload the picture. Always, another technical thing is you can't see a picture in there at the moment because it's actually white. As you can see, as you move it around, it's called a background PNG. So Maybe leave some of that technical stuff for us. If you know what you're doing, great, go ahead and create a background PNG to upload in that section. Okay, so your tracking code for Google Analytics would go down there, and we would usually set that up for you. We don't usually go into subscription settings. Obviously, don't change any of that custom CSS. Pretty much stay away from most of this content. Styling options, likewise, I wouldn't get too involved in that if you can. And typography, we often do custom typography, so we're actually not using this setting on, and in some cases we are. So at the moment for Chelsea's site, we are using this particular typography, so you can kind of play around with the settings here, so your navigation and your intro. We're using Google fonts for the most part, so if you want to have a little bit of a play, you can. Some of the links will be slightly different, but that's where you would change some of your typography. Layout options I wouldn't change, and then the homepage options. Now this is where your homepage setup, which we've said, okay, enable the content area, so that's your page that is sitting there at the moment. You can do things like enable the blog area and enable a portfolio, which we probably wouldn't do, and we wouldn't necessarily enable features as well. And if we add WooCommerce, which is the shop, it'll also say, do you want to enable the shop in this section? And that way you can display your CDs on the homepage as well. So if you want to enable the blog area as well, you would just click that. But for now, we're just going to say, you know what, let's just click it. I'll show you what it does. So it doesn't actually do anything. You're just kind of enabling it in the back end to say, hey, you know what, I might want to pull in some features for the blog. So at the moment, as you can see, it's still just the page content. So all cool, don't need to do much there. Always save changes when you're in each section. So I've just saved it now, so just to prove that it doesn't do anything, I'm going to refresh. And it's just the page, so that's it there. So now we're just going to go to intro message. So that was that little section just in here. So you can change that by enabling it, and you would just write your new content in. So that's fairly straightforward, and you would hit save. Features area we're not using, as we said. Portfolio area we're not using, as we said. The content area we are. Now in this particular content area, it's asking us, do we want to use a page or do we want to use the posts? So I've said, let's do page. So we're going to say, doesn't matter about the number of posts because we'll only pull one page in. And it says page content. Which page do you want to link to? And I said, okay, I want the Chelsea page. So obviously you can change that to another page. Say you had a new gig and you wanted to publicize that particular gig and it had a gig poster, you would just come in here and change that page, and then that would display your new page in that area. And obviously if you want to edit the page, say Chelsea, you would go to the pages and edit it that way. Easy. So that's the content area. If you wanted to change that section and make it blog posts, you would just go blog posts and we say, you know what, I want to have 6 posts displaying, and I'm going to hit save changes. Now what you'll see when I go to the page here is that this will change. It's already done it, and it's changed already to some of our blog posts, and it's got 1, 2, 3 across the page, and then it's also got page content running down the page as well. That's the 7. So the blog feature area where I lied and I said that it doesn't affect the home page, indeed it does as soon as you hit blog posts. So I'm going to go back to page content. I hope I haven't confused you, and just put it back. And that's the page content below, and that's the blog posts that are being featured down there. Now I'll show you, we've got to go back into the layout options. Sorry, homepage options, content area. Oh, I've lost myself. Layout options, homepage setup, and we're going to take the enable blog area off. And it does take a little while to update sometimes because we've got a cached version of the site, so it's happening quite quickly. So there you go, you can see it's disappeared. There's another way of pulling the blog posts in if you want to, and I'll show you how to do that. And then you've got blog area underneath some of our blog posts. That's where we had that section and it was changing things around. So that's it for feature slider. Obviously there's a number of slider entries. So if you had say 6, you go in here and you say, okay, I want to go up to 19, and that's pretty much the only setting you'd need to play with in that particular area. If you do want to get rid of the next preview, you can click these buttons and you can drop those off to get rid of them. That's pretty much it. I'll show you the widgets separately on another video. Obviously, the contact page is pretty important as well, so just make sure the contact form is in there and Twitter username. And that's pretty much it for Whitelight. Aside from YouTube posts, we've got set up for Musos, and that pulls in videos. So we're just saying, pull them in this dimension. And which channel should you pull from. So if you ever change your YouTube channel, you'll need to go into here, into channel playlist, and then just change this. So we've got that set up, so that's pulling from Chelsea's YouTube. Well, that's it. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow. They're the main features. Obviously, if you run into any trouble, visit our support.Florence Road site. You can see we've got lots of videos up on here, and within our knowledge base, we've got quite a bit as well. So things like using GigPress, which is where the video is. So they're the short codes if you ever need those again. But we've also got a video tutorial on GigPress, which is what you'll want. You can just search for it if you need to, or see if it's under here, Google Calendar. No, but I've got a video on GigPress up there, and if not, we will be creating one very soon. So by the time you see this, it'll be up there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any further questions, let us know. We do encourage you with this. If you have any major issues, it's often quicker just to raise a ticket. So please use the support site to create a new ticket and send it through, and that way we can all learn from each other. Enjoy!